Hello to everyone. Going to make this a pretty brief video, kind of a summary. I've taken some notes, put on the glasses, and kind of go through yesterday's hearing held in Oakland, California, with Judge Wilkin, a 75-year-old judge. Really interesting hearing. I was able to capture the vast majority of the hearing. I hope some of you were able to gain some insight from watching that. Again, it's the NCAA settlement, collective settlement. And so there are several elements to this that will affect high school athletes. And one thing that was very clear with yesterday was that the judge presiding over the finalization of the settlement is keenly aware of both the pending roster cuts to current Division I athletes and the ripple effect that would have. Also, the future litigants or high school athletes and their ability, to have cause for potentially damages and being a part of future litigation. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. Want to ask everyone, if you can, whether you're watching on X, formerly known as Twitter, whether you're watching on Facebook or obviously on YouTube, could you please find your way to the YouTube channel, Coach Beede, youtube.com/Coach Beede. Please subscribe, hit thumbs up, and comment. Comment if you like the content, where you're from, what you'd like to hear more of. Quite simply, it's a way of engaging with the videos, and my particular style of content is not exactly YouTube friendly because I tend not to be in short bursts. I'm not animated. I don't roll B-roll. I'm not outside yet. So I would like to get more of an engagement so that it shows YouTube that there is interest and they begin to push it out to a larger group across North America, i.e. US and Canada. So I encourage you, if you have a question, it is live. I do this on Tuesdays to interact with parents. I engage with athletes. I do so for the vast majority of the day. But if you're so inclined to do so, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or on X, aka Twitter, you want to send me a direct message. If I see it, I will answer that. I want to also stress, these are my personal opinions. I've taken the time to contact some coaches. I've spoken with them via the phone. I've spoken to coaches at the junior college level, the NAIA level, the NCAA Division III, II, and I levels. So I'm just trying to gather information and opinions from those coaches or members of the baseball community that I value and feel offer really good information, and they're not negative in any way. A couple of things that I want to bring to your attention as parents. First and foremost, this is a NCAA Division I collective settlement. So when I speak of the settlement, I'm referring specifically to NCAA Division I. As for the college baseball community, obviously everything that happens at the higher level of Division I will trickle down in some capacity, whether that be future roster changes, scholarship, playing time, transfer portal, etc. So I don't want to be generalizing things that may happen at Division II or Division III at the NCAA level. There's really no difference to their rules or regulations. NAIA, they are discussing a few changes or enhancements. I can tell you the NAIA level of college baseball is exploding. It is a really, I don't know if you've ever been to an NAIA game, and I only say this to encourage you if you happen to live in the South, Mid Atlantic, West Coast, and you have NAIA programs, you're going to see the caliber of play, the caliber of student athlete, facilities, amenities, etc. Those are the things that are really starting to improve. So I would encourage you to do that. So let's just get right to the two major discussion points from yesterday that are lingering, meaning the judge is looking to sign off and essentially put into place the legislation that has been agreed upon with regard to financial agreements between past lawsuits, i.e., Ed O'Bannon, which began in 2009 in his lawsuit versus the NCAA, litigation as far as compensation or name, image, and likeness. And that's something the NCAA Division I is going to agree upon. But I want to bring up a couple of interesting points, and I wrote these down. At the end of the day, Judge Wilkins has indicated that she would indeed approve the changes within the settlement. But she really addressed two specific aspects that she would like both parties to have further discussions on and kind of meet in the middle. And one of those is the implementation of the roster limits. She would like to see a phasing in of these new roster limits. Many athletes current that play what they call the Olympic sports, the non-revenue generating sports, a lot of the football, basketball, baseball, where they're seeing roster reductions. We heard from Paul Skeens, Olivia Dunn, Paul Skeens' girlfriend, gymnast at LSU. She was speaking from a Title IX / name, image, and likeness perspective. So Judge Wilkins would like to see a phasing in or a grandfathering of roster limits. That is something that I think is really at the heart of college coaches. A lot of parents want to come on, and coaches are cold-hearted. They don't care. They over-recruit. Trust me, college coaches care. There's not a college coach at any level that would find it themselves to be in an enviable position where they would have to tell athletes in the latter half of the fall, early winter, December, that, hey, thanks for coming, but we can only have 34. We have to cut 4 guys. I think college coaches would prefer, baseball-wise, football, basketball, they would prefer to kind of meet somewhere in the middle. Okay, we had 40. We used to have 35. What if we get to 38, 37, and that's the permanent number? Hasn't been agreed upon, and the judge would like to have a phase-in period for implementing roster limits. So that's number one. Number two, she would like to have the language adjusted as it relates to future college athletes, meaning there's no way that a college athlete, let's say they're a high school graduate, 25, 26, 27, 28, one, they're not receiving any of this information directly from the colleges unless you've agreed to a scholarship at the Division I level. Then you should be in the mix with regard to the dissemination of the information. But she's really discussing the class of 26, 27, 28, and so forth and so on, that their opportunities are going to be reduced, restricted in some way. So she's looking at a 10-year window or something to that effect with regard to future college athletes. Now, there's a lot of other things that transpired today. There's new filings from a new entity. I believe that is called the American, let's see what it was called. there's a new suit that has been brought up to kind of challenge the NCAA, similar to the USFL. I'm trying to be somewhat general in my generalization of what's happening. They're trying to be a competitor to the NCAA, known as the American Collegiate Sports Association. I just want parents to understand from a very basic perspective. One, if you're currently a college student athlete, the months of May and June are going to be very, very chaotic. I think we'll have some form of agreement finalized, ratified, whatever word we want to use, by the end of this month, at least. And then heading into May, based on what they decide, there's going to be a reduction in some way, shape, or form across all sports. It's important for parents to understand the Title IX component. For every male scholarship, there's a female scholarship. So football throws, for those schools that have football, it throws things kind of out of whack because there's not really the female women's sports equivalent to football with regard to roster size. So there's that. Two, during the course of this kind of winding down to the litigation, lots of schools have done a feasibility, athletic feasibility, kind of accounting, and they're trying to determine what is affordable, what isn't. For instance, a case in point, if you're a mid-major school at the Division I level, and let's just say you're in a conference that is stretching your budget, meaning you are required to be on a plane 4 or 5 times. That plane is significantly more expensive than a bus ride. So it could be 25 to 50,000 in costs. 4 times 5, that's $250,000. Hotels, meals, etc. So schools are going to have to look at from an affordability perspective. Can we afford to be in these sports? Can we afford the geographical configuration of our conference at this point? So there's a lot of decisions that are still kind of being made underneath and over and above the NCAA settlement. So I want parents to understand, what does this mean for the future collectively as a whole of college baseball? A couple of things. One, if you've kind of listened to some of the things that I've broached in the past, some of the predictions and some of my opinions, a lot of those things are starting to come to fruition. For instance, the Florida Marlins created a club team. Okay, what does that mean? That means they're going to create a group of players that have above average ability, and they're going to be playing against these athletes that are in extended spring, whether they're the 16 to 19-year-old athletes, the recently drafted high school athletes, and they're going to be bringing them in and housing them and allowing them to kind of get their foot in the door. There's going to be more of that. There's going to be more of a environment where professional baseball is trying to get athletes that are coming out of college and letting them prove themselves. And they're calling it club baseball, but I think it's a little bit higher version than that. Also, important for parents to understand, there's going to be conference realignment. I believe, it is my opinion, nobody has said this to me, a few coaches have hinted at it. You're going to see at the end of 2025 going into 26, you're going to see that these large conferences, formerly known as the P4, I believe they're going to create this professional conference. I think there's going to be a separate entity away from the NCAA. There's just too much money, and it's way beyond the scope of feasibility for a lot of these, as we know them to be now, mid-major programs, to be able to compete with the Goliaths. For instance, It was $8 million that is set aside for the Florida Gators NCAA Division I national champion basketball program. Duke's is $15 million. That's what they pay, as far as that's their budget. That's their booster allocation, name, image, and likeness, and so forth. A lot of schools for football are spending that kind of money, comparable monies. So you start to look around the room, and yes, the P4 schools, the larger schools that are generating significant revenue from television contracts. The television contracts run out they expire in 2026. So beginning at the latter half of 25 this year, going into next year, there'll be a new discussion after the settlement has been agreed upon. And they'll be kind of trending in that direction of, for lack of a better term or name, the professional division. And then there'll be a realignment of all of the other conferences based on geographical and travel logistics, so that it makes things more affordable, palatable for what they call the Olympic sports: tennis, golf, swimming, gymnastics, etc. But that's going to also have an effect on things like recruiting and the talent pools and things like that. So that is kind of everything in a nutshell. I want to let you know from a baseball recruiting perspective, and I'm going to keep this as brief as possible. And I know I just got a question, but I do want to get this out there. It's important for parents. If your son has already committed to a college at the Division I level, it's a good idea to stay in communication with the coaches. I don't think a lot of coaches have made final decisions, but going into May and June is going to get chaotic. No way around that. Every coach to a man basically says that. The other thing that a lot of coaches are saying is Division I baseball, when this is all said and done, essentially will become the minor leagues, as we used to know it, short season / rookie ball for the major league pro teams. And then Division II and Division III, JUCO and NAIA will ultimately become feeder programs, or the lower minor leagues, for just for reference point, of the Division I programs. And it is going to be that way for the foreseeable future. That is just a fact, meaning college coaches at the higher levels, meaning Division I, and in some cases, Division II, the Sunshine State Conference, UTampa, Florida Southern, Barry, Nova Southeastern, Southern New Hampshire, etc. Those programs are going to catch the fallbacks from Division I, or the guys graduating from JUCO. And that Division I and that Division II level, you're going to have reduced rosters. You're going to have very active portal. Recruiting for those programs, for the most part, will come out of the portal, and that will put an emphasis on summer collegiate baseball. Once that is exhausted, approximately after the All-Star game, Major League Baseball, approximately the second week in July, then the events like Shooter Hunt and I were talking about a few weeks ago, PBR Futures, and then the Jupiter event. Those are pretty much the bigger events that are held on a national level: area code, East Coast Pro, and then college camps. So I say this to you because I really believe it is important for parents to begin to understand what is happening up above you ultimately will begin to trickle down. And by that, I mean a lot of summer programs, a lot of college programs are kind of putting an emphasis now on strength, conditioning, rest, recovery during the middle to latter half of the summer. And then in the fall, there's some fall leagues. There's obviously college camps. There's obviously a few events, Fort Myers and Jupiter. And then they're wrapping up the season. But the strength training portion of youth baseball is gaining significant traction. It's important for parents to understand that. College recruiting. I am only going to say this to you as someone that I speak to enough people and I see the proliferation of these recruiting services. And I want parents to understand your money and you make your decisions. And I'm not going to mention specific names, but I want to tell parents, if you have a student athlete that is under the age of 17, and I'm going to say, let's say junior in high school, all the way to 8th grade, those 3 years, there is zero, nada, not a blessed thing that you should be doing with regard to getting on a coach's radar, trying to worry about college recruiting. Anything to do with that is just going to ultimately be falling on deaf ears. And anyone that tells you differently is fibbing to you. College coaches, if you want to go to a camp and kind of engage with the college coaches, staff, and you want to talk, great. But the number one takeaway from every single college coach we talk to, physicality, physicality, physicality. Go to Division III games, go to Division II games, go to JUCO games. Look at the thickness, look at the size, look at the foot speed, look at college players. There's a certain build, a physicality. And the things that guys like Tommy Moffitt, Ben Fairchild, and Mike Reinhold, and Eric Cressy, and all of these strength trainers, they're trying to get you as parents to understand, hey, listen, don't blow out your arm at 16 or 17. It doesn't make any sense. Throttle back. Get into the recovery phases. Get into the replenishment. And get into the strength training. That is what college coaches are beginning to identify. It's strength, speed, skill. Strength, speed, skill, size, scholar. You have to begin to adjust. It's not like trying to go from March through October and trying to play in all of these tournaments. It just is not that way anymore. Can't emphasize that enough. I have a few questions here, and I just want to answer two. One, if you're the parent of an 8th, 9th, 10th grader, and you're going to a college camp, they might identify you, but they're not going to actively recruit you. Even for juniors in August 1st, you shouldn't be worried that you don't get a call. You shouldn't be worried that you're not getting a text message. You should not be worried. There's no such thing as too late. From this point forward, the late bloomers, those that are diligent in the weight room, those that are diligent with regard to development, skill, size, speed, that's going to play a major role and a determining factor for whether your student athlete will be able to play college baseball. The second question pertains to Division III. The transfer portal is now being utilized, maximized by Division III head coaches. Division II doesn't really lose a lot of players to Division I. Division I tends to get the fallbacks to Division II. In fact, if you go to Pro Radar, which is on the Baseball Blue Book, go to Pro Radar. They offer a tremendous service, tremendous insight and information for families to find out who's playing, who's starting, what are their statistics, where did they come from? Were they from high school? Were they from JUCO? Were they from Division I and transferred to Division II? Division III baseball and NAIA baseball are filled, max capacity. No longer is Division III baseball a couple of guys 84 to 88, and if you get a 90 guy, you're going to dominate. You go anywhere in the country and you look at Division III, NCAA Division III baseball, dudes everywhere. A lot of rosters have guys throwing 89, 93, 94. A lot of guys, middle infielders that are really dynamic. They're older. And those guys that are sophomores or even juniors, and if they get that 5th year of eligibility, you're going to see a lot of graduate kids going to graduate school, getting their masters. So I want you to understand the pathway to college baseball is get your foot in the door, get a resume built, make sure you're physically ready, prepared to compete. And if you can play at Division III, You think you can play at a higher level. You're going to go out in the summertime. You're going to play in a college summer league, and those college coaches are going out. They're looking in the portal, and they're looking at your synergy video. Synergy video. A lot of colleges have video of their field. Yacker Tech, all kinds of technology now where they're capturing game video. College coaches can go to that, look up your statistics on a place like Pro Radar, and then they're able to match that up with video. The portal is where a lot of college coaches are going to do a lot of their recruiting. That's just a fact. And the high school athlete has to become aware of the necessary physical and skills, meaning if you're a shortstop in high school and you're a stud and you're an all-state and you run a 7-1 or a 7-0 and you're 170 pounds, you're probably on the outside looking in, even at the Division III level. You should be spending a lot of your free time on the weekends trying to track down a college game and get there and watch the games, watch the kids. So the club team is still being formulated. I know it wasn't allowed, but they're going to create that dynamic is going to be created next collective bargaining. It's all waiting for the settlement and thank you for bringing that up. My point is that entryway for high school athletes, all sports, not just baseball, is going to be more challenging. Trying to play more games isn't necessarily going to benefit as much as it is preparing your body and your skill sets to be ready. So by the time you leave high school, you're prepared to compete for a roster spot opportunity. Last thing I want to discuss, postgraduate baseball academies. Those are largely due to like an IMG type model. A lot of facilities that are strength training facilities are going to be offering year-round training, getting up your strength, getting up your size, making sure you're getting faster speed-wise, and then obviously developing skill, hitting, throwing, catching, fielding, etc. If you have an academic interest, and you're looking to trade athletic ability for academic interest, athletic ability for academic success, athletic ability for academic excellence. Pro Radar someone put out an interesting post, tweet, X, I don't know what we call it on X. Top 4 conferences that that freshmen are getting active roles on. Ivy League, Patriot League, I think one was the ACC, which was the lone Power 4. And I can tell you that NESCAT schools, which are Division III, Bates, Bowdoin, Tufts. So if there is an academic interest, and I always tell parents, those families that I work with, and I work with anywhere from 7 to 10 families a year. This year, I have boys at Phillips Andover, Phillips Exeter, Deerfield, Winchendon School, Westminster, Salisbury, schools like that, Avon Old Farms. Those types of opportunities will carry you for decades. Really make sure you're making a decision over and above just baseball, because the window and the opportunity window of baseball is really, really small, particularly at Division I. Division I is going to be for the game's elite, whether we're talking about mid-major, whether we're talking about currently Power 4 schools. The average age is 22 years old. You can see all the games, whether you watch them on TV or go live. They're for the men. They're for men. So parents, you need to make more. You had to go down that rabbit hole a lot deeper and start to really find the right fit for your student athlete over and above baseball. If your son or your student athlete was hurt, could no longer play baseball, the school that they choose, would they be happy to be there for 4 or 5 years? That's how this decision should go. want to say thank you to everybody that watched. If you have questions, I encourage you to email them to me. You can find my email on coachbeede.com. I encourage you to make sure that you download the Blue Book app. The Blue Book app is now a great resource for families. It has the Pro Radar on there. I do evaluations on there. You're able to have dialogue with coaches. You're able to load your video. You're able to load your transcript. You're able to create a profile similar to what you would do as an adult on LinkedIn and let coaches, hey, I need a first baseman, left-hand hitting. I need them to have this type of GPA. I need them to be from the Midwest. Boom. There's a profile. Download that. It's free. It's 1,000% free. You just go on there, create your profile, interact, and find your best fit with regard to colleges. If you have questions, Walter at coachbeede.com. I will answer those for you. This Thursday, we'll have our Coaches Corner at 9 p.m., and I look forward to talking with you again soon.